Hello, hello. I see one person in here. My name is Miss Penny. Welcome to Spiritual Roots. This is for my spirit, the people that's in my Spiritual Roots community. If you're in my Spiritual Roots community, hey, hello, makes me smile. What's your name? Are you in my Spiritual Roots community? Hello, hello, everyone. I see I got 3 people in here. Say hello. Introduce yourself. If you're in my Spiritual Roots community, say hello. Come on in the chat. We've covered a lot of things in the community. Okay. Makes me smile said that they're not in my community. What is this? This stream is for, I don't know how that happened, but it happened. Hello, hello, hello. Are you in my Spiritual Roots community? My Hoodoo community, our Hoodoo community that we just started. This is a meet and greet for all of you. I'm orange. Okay. I got to put this together here. I can't have that going on there. I have to reach my community. Here. Let's go here and do this. Anyone in my Spiritual Roots community in this stream? If not, then I need to go another route with this. What's the name of these streams? Hello, hello. Who's in my Spiritual Roots community? Let's see if the stream is going here. Let's take this route. If you're in my Patreon group, please identify yourself. Okay, so it's going. Okay, who's in here that's in the Spiritual Roots community? Because we're gonna go over some things today, and maybe you're probably gonna have to watch this later. Okay, so let's see here what we've covered. In the community, we have covered planetary magic and working it with hoodoo. Okay. Does anybody have any questions about planetary magic and in hoodoo, working it in hoodoo? Any of the posts that we have up here, is it any specific thing that you need to understand you're not familiar with? Okay, this is a meet and greet for everyone who's in there. Anyone that's in the group that has any questions, I'll give it a couple of minutes because I was a little late getting here. Anyone that's in the Patreon, this is the Spiritual Roots meet and greet, where if you have any questions about any of the posts that's in there, any questions about hoodoo, any questions about the rituals that's been posted there, posted here for us. You have any questions about that, now is the time to chime in. You want to introduce yourself, whatever you want to ask here, I am available to answer those questions. I know it seems what's the most important thing in practicing hoodoo is making sure you're in alignment with the work that you're doing. So I know on social media you'll see people they'll post all types of work on there. The thing with the cinnamon and the the honey jars, which that's not even a thing in real hoodoo. We don't use honey jars. The thing about crossroads, breaking that down for you and helping you understand what a crossroad really is. So I've explained all those things to you in the on the platform. But the most important thing is being in alignment with your work. A lot of people want to do uh different type of work and they're not in alignment with it, then they wonder why it didn't work because you wasn't consistent on your rituals, going to your altar at times. And time is very important when it comes to hoodoo. That's why our ancestors used that almanac. It was certain times that had they were able to do certain work. And if you're not going there at those particular times, um, that we have posted here on Patreon, if you're not following that time, then you're not going to get the results. Another important factor in your magic tool, you need to know your zodiac and your chart so you'll know the energies that you can work with when you're doing your work. That's very important. All zodiac signs, you need to know your natal chart so you'll see what energies are available for you to work with. That way it gives you more options. And I'm going to be talking about that more. I'm going to be posting a lecture there in the group about that. Okay. But and giving you a link to where you can look at your natal chart and start breaking things down and start your workings from there. Again, you're going to need your almanac too. Your almanac is going to be essential. We're going to go over the almanac too. But all these components are very important in hoodoo. Now, Bible scriptures, let's go get the Bible scriptures. I cannot interpret the Bible for you. You have to do that. You have to interpret that on your own because that scripture may be saying something else to you and means something else to you, and then somebody else read it and it's saying something totally different from them, but there's still the psychic energy in that Bible to help you with your petition and get your work done. There's still power in those words, but only you can give it meaning, if that makes sense, because it's your magic. So I can't interpret that to you. But I tell you what, the book that we have in there, The Secret Teachings of Psalm, that is a very helpful book. in helping you craft your petitions. And that book, and we went over. I did a whole book review on the secret of Psalms. That's the name of it. The Secret of Psalms. I did a whole book review in there, and you saw those names, and those names are not in the Bible. A lot of them are coded in there. You think when you're saying Lord, you're talking to God, but Lord is a surname. It's like a substitute name for the real name. And so the secret of Psalms reveal that when you start going through those, reading that book. Again, go through that book, see if you are in alignment with any of the rituals in there, and start performing them. Also, it's a good time too to start performing your own magic. Forget what you have seen out here on social media. That's somebody else magic. Your magic is born in your mind and works because your ancestors are showing you how to do it. And it's in alignment with you. Okay? This is getting you all in alignment with your ancestors, with your magic. Hoodoo is all about alignment, especially when you're doing root work. A lot of people like to go off the conjure because conjure, to a certain extent, it doesn't require root work. But I feel like I deeply feel like that some people can get themselves in trouble if they haven't did the root work and trying to do conjure. And you find yourself working with a spirit and get a hold of you and hey, and the spirit is messing messing some things up with you, so you have to be careful about that. And we're gonna go into conjure when we start talking about some of these goetic spirits. um what else? We'll talk about the clavicle, and then too, and this is a part of it, you guys. You got to study it because our ancestors use a lot of this in their workings as well. Um, Demonology, uh, understanding the esoteric meaning in the occult. All of those things are going to be big factors when you go into conjure. And conjure is a lot vaster. It's a lot vaster. It's more options in there. Okay, but I would recommend, don't, if you're not rooted in your hoodoo practice and you have not done a lot of root work, I don't advise you to go out there and start working with spirits that you're not in alignment with. And we'll talk about that over there. We're also going to talk about too how to work with the Risha by way through the ancestors, because there is a way that you can safely work with these other deities and work with saints. But again, we're going to do root work and take it light and start off doing these rituals um, with the angels. Start doing these rituals with angels. Start doing these rituals. What is it? You can do rituals with saints. But we always in hoodoo angels, we start off with angels and ancestors first. And some people work with angels and ancestors and never have to go work with another spirit. Some people work with angels and saints. Hoodoo will spread all the way out. When you look at it, it'll spread all the way out depending on you and what you're in alignment with. I have seen um, people work with Hindu gods, some of the Buddha, Pantheon. Um, it just will expand out, and people will have different altars, but they know how to serve these spirits. They have a relationship with these spirits. They are in alignment with them. So I've seen it. It's such a vast thing. That's why I love hoodoo. Even though it's a closed practice, once you get in it and start working with your ancestors, your hoodoo can grow, grow and grow and grow. As long as you keep practicing and studying and have relationship with spirit, it can grow. Okay. Any questions for me? Anybody want to introduce themselves in here? Because I don't want to just keep yapping and I don't know exactly what you want to talk about, because there's plenty of lectures and plenty of things and rituals and things that's um on the platform, and I'm not sure how far many of you have gotten in some of the materials over there, and it's quite a bit of materials. And I've put lectures with most of the books, the literature that's over there to help you clearly understand. And I know I've dismantled a lot of misconceptions that's going on now with social media. And some people just don't know they're doing these spells off social media and they think they have something, and that is somebody else's magic, and then they're surprised when the magic doesn't work because you wasn't in alignment with it. You probably got blocks put up, blocks going on with you. Now, if you find yourself and you're not able to do some of the work, uh, and you really want to do something, you'll probably have to break it down. You'll have to go back and do some healing work on yourself. Again, this magic is born in the mind. A lot of this is born in your mind. Your mind and your mouth is the most powerful tools in hoodoo. Okay? So if you ain't got and your emotional balance, because you're gonna need that too. So if you don't have that intact, you might have some blocks, and it's perfectly fine. It's not saying that you can't do it. I've had to do it too. I've had to go back to the drawing board and say, okay, I can't do this. I did the work and stuff, and then not seeing, because you'll know if it's working after 2 weeks. You'll start seeing changes in it. It should within 2 weeks you start seeing it come to fruition, depending on what you're trying to do. Okay, and depending on your zodiac sign too. For Earth, the people that are Earth signs and working with the Earth, and because they strategically too, is going to be following the moon and the growth patterns of things. So it I can say that your magic usually manifests within 2 weeks or a month, depending on what you got going on and what you're setting the intention for. The people that are earth signs, because you're going to be working with, I've already posted gave you information about the earth signs and how you will do your work, do your manifestation work, and what you're going to be good at doing. So depending on what you have going on, the earth sign, your magic tends to, within a month or so time, you should start seeing um, some manifestations come along. But this is going to take some consistency. Going to that altar at the specific times that are listed there for you to go there and do the work. This is work. The contrary to what you think you saw on social media, you seen somebody else do. That's why we got 7-day candles, because you're supposed to be going to that altar with it consistently. That's why we got 7-day candles. I'm gonna put it like that. You're supposed to be going to consider, because you're building up the ashe, and you are strengthening your connection to these energies that you're going to these angels you're going to be working with, these angels and saints and your ancestors. You're strengthening your ashe. And so the more you're going to the altar and doing your rituals, the better your work is going to turn out for you. but it takes some consistency. I know you've seen it, you know. There is some Hollywood stuff what they're doing, some of this stuff they're doing on social media, and I just shake my head at it. And you're not even supposed to be showing it. Who shows their work on social media? Privacy ensures the safety of your work. Okay. Now I don't mind sharing little things with people. Um, but just showing a whole bunch of stuff because again, there's a lot of context with this. I don't even know if you're even in alignment to do the work, you know. And those are big factors in there, contrary to what you have been told. Hey, Monique. Hello, hello, hello. Contrary to what you've been told. And yeah, they make it look good. Um, a lot of people make it look good on social media. And some people just don't want to learn, put in the work and learn real hoodoo. They don't want to learn real hoodoo. They don't know. They don't want to learn the workings of magic and how it really works. They just want to take something in, but your magic, it works because whatever you put in it, that's what you get out of it. If you're going to that altar being consistent and you working with these energies and you working with these angels, being consistent with them and building a relationship, that's the work, that's how your work gonna manifest because you've been dedicated, devoted, and committed to the work. You're committed to your magic. And you'll see some people do hit and miss with their magic because they're not consistent on their altar. Again, this is about building up your ashe and building a relationship with these spirits, these energies. It is not a fly by type of thing. It takes work. And anybody who's telling you that uh they giving you something quick, they only giving you crumbs. They're only giving you crumbs. And I've seen that. I've had people come to me. This young lady, somebody was teaching her. It was something because she said they had initiated her into something, and I knew right then. I was like, oh my gosh, somebody didn't take it. Somebody took advantage of this young lady, and then they just show her a whole bunch of spells with no type of alignment work, no type of healing work. And it brought on a little confusion because the worker who was teaching her, um, she wasn't in alignment, and she was having to step back because she felt like she was filled with so much dark energy. That's what happens when you start doing stuff when you're not in alignment in it. Hexing people, putting folks in pots and jars and all that stuff. You know the energy. If you don't understand the workings of this, and not knowing the energy, the mindset, psychological spirits that you have to work with when you're doing that, them spirits will eat you alive. That's the energy that you have to work with. And if you don't understand, don't know the ins and outs and the workings of magic, you can mess yourself up. So I trip out on these people who want to hit somebody, abandon somebody. They want to continue to do that type of work, and then they wonder why they crazy as hell. They wonder why they depressed. They wonder why they can't feel no joy, no light, any of that because you've been doing that stuff. You've been using your life force to do that and to work with those spirits, those oppressive spirits, because that's what's going to happen if you keep on doing that. But then you have some people who can that are good at doing hex work, like a Scorpio. A Scorpio will be good at doing work because they're in alignment with it they uh when they really do the healing and they don't have any blocks. A Scorpio will be excellent at doing that because their sign is lined up with death and rebirth and transformation. What is another sign? Aries will be good for that type of work as well. Okay. Again, this is about alignment and really looking at who you are. Looking at who you are and what you can do. If you don't know who you are and you out here just grabbing stuff and just because it look good and you don't know your you don't know your star sign, your energy, the house you was born up under, you don't know any of that and you just and then you wondering why it don't work because that's not what you're supposed to be doing. Hoodoo is not a one size fit all. Just because somebody else do it don't mean you can do it. That's why you will see hoodoo look different in different families. It looks different. It doesn't look the same. And just because it don't look the same don't mean it ain't hoodoo. It's hoodoo. I've seen it look different. I've even did work that's as different from anybody else's I've ever seen, and it works because I followed my ancestors, and they told me what to pick up and use. That's why ancestral healing and ancestral veneration is so important because you start awakening that wisdom of the ancestors within you. If anybody's following me on TikTok, you see how I'm unraveling a lot of the hoodoo that was in my family by sharing a lot of those stories. And that's how it'll start coming up once you start doing hoodoo. They'll start your memories that's lying dormant in your mind that you didn't think too much of. They'll start bringing that to the surface. Again, this is how spirits speak to us. This is why it's important to have your mind and your emotional well-being intact when you're doing this work, because spirit speaks subtly to us, and sometimes we can miss the messages. We just think that's a passing thought when really that's the ancestors. That's your spirit guides or your angels giving you information. But because you don't know the language of spirit and you got a lot of blocks going on, you're not getting the messages. Is your mind is not working right, and you got a whole bunch. I've seen it a lot when people come in for tarot readings. That's why I trip out when people do these all these collective readings. I don't recommend them. I just really don't. I've never been comfortable with doing collective readings. Uh, because it's easy for people to be misled. I've even had people to come to me and I've had to give them a correct reading because they've been sitting up there trying to make a collective reading a personal reading, you know. Again, it's a general collective reading. It's not personal for you, but some people takes that personal. That's good enough for them. And that's not even the reading for them. And I've had people that have mental blocks that come in there. They think it's something else, but really it's a mental block and they need to heal. And so I have to prescribe them something to do to start moving those blocks out and or have them looking at things that they didn't want to look at and start shifting, helping them do some shifting work. So again, this is not a one size fit all. And then you do some things you don't want to do. It may require you to get up early in the morning. See, this is work. You might have to get up 4, 5 o'clock in the morning. I have had to do it. Get up 4, 5 o'clock in the morning before the sunrise. And I've already told you the reason before that, why to do that, why that is done like that. If you've listened to the lectures, I've went over why it is important that some of us get up early in the morning and do rituals. That is the best time. That's why your ancestors be waking you up at 3, 4, 5 o'clock in the morning to go to that altar. You're heard that your prayers are more clear at that time. Your petitions are more clear at that time. And I already explained why over there on Patreon to you. I don't want to share too much because it's looking like too that this live stream that my other subscribers are in here and I'm kind of public, and I don't know who's seeing this, so I'm being very careful at how I'm wording things. But if you're over there on Patreon and you've listened to those lectures, you know exactly what I'm talking about because I've been very forthcoming over there. I'm very careful because I'm keep trying to keep this closed. Okay? And how our ancestors did is by keeping knowing when to keep their mouth closed and shut. That's what closed mean too. So I'm dismantling a lot of these misconceptions that we are seeing on social, and it's not Christian. I've seen it too. It is, you don't have to be Christian to practice hoodoo. Can you be Christian? No, hoodoo is not Christian. Okay, but you can be Christian and practice hoodoo. But hoodoo is not Christian. So I've seen a lot of people to make that about that as well. All right. And it's not you don't have to be Christian. I dismantle a lot of that over there as well because I've seen some uh you know people try to make hoodoo look like a religion. You can't do that. No, you can't do that. You ain't put yourself in the jar. Everybody magic look different. Stop telling people what they should do with their magic. If they have a basic understanding of how their magic work and how hoodoo work and working with these natural elements, you know, and it's so natural, it looks like magic, but it's really practical natural magic. It's root knowing how to work with these roots, these spirits, and it'll scare you because you'll get a response so fast. You be like, "Dang, how come I didn't know this? How come I didn't know this? You know how important these greetings from Jamaica. Hello, hello, Shauna K. Um, you these angels will start showing up. You'll start instantly getting feedback from them once you start going to those rituals at those given times. Timing is so important. I can't emphasize that enough. And you first start doing your work is look at your work and say, okay, who can I work with this work? Which, which planet do I need to be working with? Do I need to be working with the moon? Do I need to be working with the sun? Do I need to be working with the angel? Do I need to be working with the ancestors? Start assessing your work right off the bat. What times do I need to come here? Sometimes I usually I set my alarm on my phone to remind me when to go to the altar so I don't get wrapped up in, so wrapped up in something I forget to go to my altar and do my rituals, especially when I know I got some work going. I need to be on top of it. I need to be on top of it. And that's exactly how you need to be. That's why I don't see how anybody have any time, um, especially hoodoo practitioners, how you have a lot of time to be on some of this social media because a lot of us have to break away because we got altar work to do. And sometimes you have hoodoo workers that got 3, 4 altars. And when I see somebody on there, I was listening to somebody the other day. Who is that? Yes, once you realize that everything add energy in alchemy, your magic will show up and show out. We need teachers, elders, but should believe in our own magic and what feels right to us. Yes, and you should know who you are. A lot of us don't know who we are. Do you really know the meaning of your zodiac? Do you know what it means to be a fire sign? Do you know what it means to be a earth sign? What options are available for you? Because there's spirits that walk with zodiac signs too that you can work with. You got helpers all around you, and once you start invoking them in your work and working with them, it ensures, it gives you more confidence in your work and ensure better results. And you're the magic. You are the magic. Nothing moves and shakes without you. That's why knowing your natal chart is so important, because you know which angel that you can work with, you gonna vibe with. And you might have, like I've said on there, you might have to uh you might have to research a variety of angels and see which one you're gonna be vibing with too. That's within your zodiac, within that fire sign, within that earth sign. Because, like I said, it's not a one size fit all. It's not a one size fit all. Contrary to what people are telling you, it is not a one size fit all. I've never seen that in hoodoo, you know. And there's a lot of things I see out there that's not hoodoo. I'm like, that's not even, no, that's not that. That's not that's not that. Okay. I don't think you missed anything, sweet tea. Hey, right now I was really, because I don't know who is on the Patreon platform, Spiritual Roots. That platform over there is a hoodoo community where I teach and share a lot of hoodoo rituals, the traditional hoodoo, without all the fluff. There's no fluff here, because this is a science. This is spiritual technology. This is a science. Once you understand this, spirit is in everything. Okay, you're a Patreon member. Okay, so if you're on that Spiritual Roots platform over there, then you have listened to a lot of the lectures over there. There has been some very informative lectures over there to really break down uh what hoodoo really is, especially when it comes to that crossroads. Cause honey, and I just laugh at that, because the ancestors show kept their clothes. They kept their mouth closed. They didn't say a word about that. They let people run with that, and people still running with that right now today. Right now today, they still running with that, because they don't know in hoodoo there's esoteric meaning. Some that we're taking literally, that's really esoteric meaning to it. They were just so smart and clever. They knew how to keep it closed. So you'll go over there in Hoodoo, and you over there on the platform, on our platform here, and you will see that there's a lot of esoteric meaning in some of the hoodoo practices, and that was created to keep the practice closed. Okay, that's why it was created. So I'm turning down a lot of the fluff, and then it's decolonized too. Is that, I've decolonized a lot of it. So over there, I haven't posted anything about Kabbalah yet, because Kabbalah, when I start looking at it and where it comes from and who created, I have mixed feelings about it. But it's definitely, it appears that Kabbalah was specifically made for the patriarchs, for them to understand spiritual systems. They created that. Okay, so I don't think it's for everybody, but I do recommend that your ritual has structure, that you know how um to cast a circle, Some people use the lesser banishing ritual, which I've showed you in there. Some people start to use the middle pillar exercise. That's going to help you start attuning and aligning your energy. Now, those I do recommend. I do recommend the lesser banishing ritual. I do recommend the middle pillar exercise because, again, you begin to attune your chakras, your energy, and cast a safe circle. And so when you look at hoodoo too, it's a mixture of low and high magic together. If you're looking at it that way from a occult standard cult stance, it's a mixture of low and high magic. And what do I mean by that? For instance, let's say laying tricks, knowing how to lay a trick. People leave stuff. That is a form of low magic, but you can use high magic to empower it. That's where the rituals come in at. That's just like if I made a mojo bag, I might leave that mojo bag, put everything in my mojo bag, bless everything. That mojo bag might be on my altar 3 to 7 days before I even complete it because I want all the power put in there. I want every herb to be powerful. I want my intentions to be heavily in that bag. Okay, so it may take me what 3 7 days just to consecrate a mojo bag. That's my bag. That's the way I do it. It ain't no fly by rush type thing when I do a mojo bag. I might have it up there 3 to 7 days just to make sure that energy is in there and that it's working. And then thinking, what do I want to feed this bag? Put that in there too. What the bag is for? Is it for protection? Is it drawing love? What is the bag for? And some people feed their bags oil. Some people feed their bags alcohol. You know, some people come up with their own fragrance waters or perfumes to feed their bag when it comes to love work. But it's a special way you got to take care of that bag. It's more than just putting it together. You got to put ashe in it too and talk to it. You got to because once you start making stuff like this, it becomes a spirit. Everything is spirit. Once you light that candle and put that candle on top of that candle, is a spirit now. You done dressed it with herbs. You got all them spirits working for you. You done dressed it with herbs. You done dressed it with oil. You done prayed into it, and now you done put a fire to it. So now it's a whole spirit, and the wax turns into like a watery type of substance. It's between earth and water. See, there's so many elements going on with that candle. I'm really helping you look at it in a different way now. Once your hoodoo eyes come up, you see everything as spirit. Every tool that you have on that altar has a spirit for it, and it is working for you. Okay? Everything around you, the elements outside, the trees, all of that. And then I've also included, especially for the earth sign, you might find yourself working with plants. I've already put some stuff in there and some rituals in there that show you how to craft spells to help you work with plants. Sometimes it's not about lighting a candle. Sometimes it's about working with those herbs and going outside working with nature. You earth signs. Or if you're gonna do some work, do it outside. You probably want to have your altar outside for the earth sign. You see how your thinking going? See how this going? I'm a triple earth, Taurus, Sun, Moon, Cap, North Node. Okay. Then you will be working with the earth, working with dirt. That's when it comes in, using that bank dirt, using hospital dirt, using church dirt, dirt from the crossroads, knowing how to use it with your plants, your herbs, and all that. And then you'll have some people that don't work mesh well with different herbs. Maybe you need to work. Maybe you need to work with herbs that are under the fire sign, like cinnamon. I think cayenne pepper would be under the fire sign too. Again, see how you're putting structure and aligning things instead of just throwing things together. You're putting it in alignment where it goes. It has to make sense. Your magic has to make sense. If it doesn't make sense to you, again, this is psychological too. It has to make sense. It has to have structure. And it's not hard. It may take a little study and some commitment and devotion on your part. That more than anything, it's gonna take your time. That's what you're gonna be investing in it. And whatever you put in there is what you get out. Now, I also wanted to mention too, a lot of people don't mention this, but this is gonna be important in your workings. Um I know when you're working with these energies, especially plants and the angels, you want to put offerings on there, or you might even find that an angel wants you to give them an offering. They might want herbs, they might want vegetables, they might want specific things on their altar, flowers, you know. But again, they'll guide you to what they want. Because again, we do pay the spirits. We do thank the spirits. That's another reason why we blow smoke over a lot of our herbs to thank and give gratitude and pay the herbs. Again, everything is sacred and everything is spirit. Yeah, that altar outside, that'd be a good idea because again, earth signs work good with the earth. They work good with plants and trees and things like that. Get out there and make friends with cedar trees, oak trees, and you probably want to do some work over there and ask them to help you do some work. Again, you befriending spirits. You're making friends with them, just like you would do anyone else. You'll go out there and start talking, leaving offerings there for the tree and then start taking work down there to the tree. You see how this work? You see how this work? This is how this work. But your best allies during this time is going to be your angels, the angels and the ancestors. And sometimes you won't be able to tell the difference between an angel and an ancestor. Okay, because you have these elevated ancestors. I talked about this on Patreon. You have the ones that are so bright and so divine. They're just like you can't tell the difference in between of them sometimes. So they in the ATRs they're called Egungun and the I might be pronouncing this wrong because you guys know I'm not the best at pronouncing things, but they will be called the Bukalu. These are the most elevated ancestors, so you'll be working a lot with them. Okay. And knowing how to go to that altar to do your rituals to have some structure in there. I also included in there, if you haven't downloaded it yet or printed it out, I have a ritual form over there so you can to help give your ritual structure and for you to document everything that went on during that ritual. That's important too, going back and looking at the progress and what you did. Okay, so you can already start have you a little conjure book, a little book where you can start recording your rituals. I mean, it's really detailed form. And I do recommend that you do your research on the angels and look at those sigils. Um, Practice some of that. What is that? The angel alphabet. I had to dismantle my indoor Oshun and Elegba altars and give them back to nature. I thought I was going crazy. There are nothing to play with. I do all my work now in nature, mostly the beach. Well, too, that's interesting that you say that because see that will happen if you're not being consistent on that ancestor altar. Really, them spirits don't want to hear from you. I don't even think about talking to Elegba until I talk to my ancestors. I don't even do it. Them spirits don't, they're not gonna respect you if you ain't got no relationship with your ancestor. It looks raggedy. You don't even respect your elders and you going over there to talk to them spirits. That's how they look at you. They respect you more when you have your ancestors to make intercession for you. I have to warn people about that. I know they look pretty, and look cute online, and you see everybody doing this Oshun stuff. But see, them spirits ain't gonna forgive you like your ancestors will if you accidentally put the wrong thing on the altar, say the wrong thing. They not gonna have grace and mercy for you like your ancestors would. Your ancestors unconditionally love you, so yeah, they gonna forgive you and have mercy on you. And them are the ones that you be need to be talking to before you work with any of the spirit. Let them lead you to work with them. That's the safest way. Even when I'm going to be explaining how to work with some of the ATRs and other spirits, I'm always going to say go to your ancestors first. Don't be doing stuff that you think you ought to do. Because sometimes it don't be right. So sometimes your ancestors would say something else. Hey, Capricorn, Monique G. So your ancestors will have you do something totally different than what you're trying to do. Again, we can get into this fluff and people can uh you know, they can sensationalize working with these deities, but you got to remember these are closed practices, and most times these people are able to work with these spirits because they are in alignment with their ancestors. Ancestors are the center of this. None of this works without the ancestors. Get that, it's important for you to get that we get that in our mind. None of this worked without the ancestors. Your ancestors is your first form of spiritual communication and mediumship. They're going to be making intercession for you. You're going to be talking to them about everything. Okay? I just don't recommend it because just like Sean, I don't know how that worked out for you. My question to you is did you ask your ancestors before you did that? Did you get their permission? you know did you get, and you'll know you got the permission because you'll start having dreams, you'll start having some type of synchronicity where they're giving you a yes. Did you do a divination? Okay, did you do a divination? Hold on, you guys, let me get my air going. Hold on just a second. Okay, Shauna, I don't think you answered my question. Did you again Did you go to our ancestors? Because we would try to go back, bypass our ancestors. We mess ourselves up and we do our self a disservice. And even if you got the ATR or try to talk to, go into Ifa, Yoruba, Lukumi, the first thing they're going to do is get you in line with your ancestors. Really, them spirits don't want to talk to you. Believe me when I tell you this. They won't talk to you if you ain't got right with your ancestors because they are ancestor centered. And when they don't see you with your ancestors and your ancestors ain't talking for you and you haven't asked your ancestors to work with them, then they're not gonna be rocking with you like that. Okay. But you know the confusion and stuff going on there, you have to go back to your ancestors and ask what is going on here. Why am I having this experience? Or then too, you're probably not supposed to erect the altar to them. Maybe you're just supposed to work with them, you know, doing certain work, and then that's it. You know, that's it. You're probably supposed to do a temporary whatever set up with them, and then that's it. And then knowing how to work with them. That's just like um, when I asked to communicate with Elegba, um I asked my ancestors first because they was already coming in dreams. I was having all these dreams, and I was like, I don't know what this is going on. I don't know if we got a break in our communication. Can we have Elegba come in here because uh Elegba is a good communicator. He's a communicator between the spirit realm and our realm. Okay, he's a communicator, and so when I did that, I dreamed of Papa Legba. But who did I ask first? I asked my ancestors, and then the dream I start having these dreams. But I went through them first. But if you're not, I know Elegba, he's like a little child. He wants you to spend time with him. If you're not spending no time at that altar with Elegba, he wants you to sit there and spend time with him and play his music. Put that cigar and rum up there. He likes time on his altar. If you erecting these altars, they take time. Don't just be putting that stuff up there. You ain't spending no time with that. They want time. It takes service. When you see a lot of these hoodoo people, them folks don't go nowhere. They too busy serving spirits. And if that's not what you want to do, that's why you have to be careful about that. Don't erect that altar because you're gonna have to serve that spirit. You have to sit there and communicate and serve that spirit and put things on that altar that they want. And if you ain't got the money and the access to keep that up, then do not erect that altar. Don't do it. It's work. It may look cute to you and pretty, and you see everybody is doing that. Don't go for that fluff. And any hoodoo practitioner tell you this. It looks good and all that until you getting up at 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning to do your ritual. It looks good to you until you trying to do some work, but you can't start it because you got to go back to the drawing board and remove some blocks from yourself emotionally and psychologically. See, they ain't showing you that. They ain't showing you that part. They ain't showing you the work they had to do to get there. A lot of us falling for the fluff. Nobody said you can't do your magic, but we do are saying that you're gonna have to whatever you put in there is what you get out. Certain things you're gonna be able to do without a problem, and certain things you're gonna have to do in steps. It's gonna take more work and consistency. That's hoodoo. That's the work. I'm taking the fluff out of it for you. I get people all the time. I had somebody to get in my box the other day, was asking me to help her do a banishment on somebody. I said, not without a reading. You see how it, and I don't know how many other people is helping her do that kind of work without any questions at all. I'm not helping you, showing you how to do nothing without a reading. And even if you are doing work for somebody, and this one, I think this is a thing that people miss too. Even if you're a hoodoo practitioner, if you're over there at Patreon and that's what you're practicing for, to help other people, you need to have the person that you're doing work for. They need to be doing work too. Your clients need something to do too. They need to be helping the work. If they're the ones and you're doing some work for them, they need to be focused on doing some type of work, prayer work, consistent work too, to help the work fruit come to fruition. And I see, that usually hoodoo practitioner is going to give you some work to do to help it. Okay? And that's not abnormal for a practitioner. To me, it's abnormal to me when a practitioner don't give you any work to do. When they're doing some work for you, it's abnormal to me when I don't hear someone say, "Well, they gave me work to do too. They didn't just do the work for me. I had to do something too. I had to do some baths, some prayers, and that on that side to help the work along." So don't be surprised if you'll see that too. You got some practitioners that open up a whole case and send you baths and all that stuff for the whole workings. You have practitioners that work that way too, which I think is the best way to really ensure there is no blocks and that the work is successful. Because that two both of them, whoever's getting the work done, they should be doing the work too. Like I had a guy, probably I already shared this with you guys. I had some guy call me needing some work. I went on ahead and gave him the work. It was healing work that he needed to be done. I didn't have a problem. Now, if it's something like that and somebody call me or reach out to me and they got some stuff going on with them, and if I can assess it right then and there, and I know it's something simple that I know you can do, I'm gonna go ahead and give you the work to do. Especially if you come to me for a reading, more than likely I'm gonna give you some work to do because I do a lot of healing work when I do readings. That's why I look at some of these tarot readers. I'm like, okay, so when y'all gonna get to the healing? Y'all sensationalizing this stuff and generalizing this stuff, but tarot is all about reading too. I mean, it's all about healing too, psychologically and emotional. It's more than divining and telling the future. We see the wounds, emotional and psychological wounds in people too. It's a lot of that going on in the tarot. Yes, yes. It's a lot of stuff on there. It's a lot of information. There's some helpful information over there to help you amplify your work. And again, I don't tell you what to do. You know, you see what you can do over there and you work it. Now, if you happen to find something that's successful and you want to share it, fine. But do know just because somebody share it that work with you, it doesn't mean it's going to work in the same format. You may have to tweak it, and that's perfectly fine. Okay. And I know a lot of people they don't want to learn, and I'm so glad for you. I'm proud of you guys that you are sitting down and you're studying, and you're putting in the work. Because I guarantee you, whatever you put in, you get out, and you'll be surprised how much you know until you start, working on your table and start helping other people that come to you for stuff. You'll be surprised how much you know. Because I'm surprised how much I know um when I'm even relaying information to you guys or when I have a client to come in, it just pops in my head because I've put in the work. I've read a lot of books. I've studied a lot of books. I've worked with my ancestors a long time. And so I can easily retrieve the information, most times, and I don't even know, I didn't even know it was there. I didn't know I was retaining that much. But that's what happens during your study. you'll start retaining the information. It'll just start coming in. Okay. Yes, a living library. That's exactly what you become. You become a living library. And again, this is, you don't have to do every single thing that you see there. Take what works for you, leave what doesn't. But the most important thing is knowing your natal chart as well. Like I said, I'll be posted in there. There's a website you can go to, and you guys probably already go there because a lot of you guys already know what's your rising sign and your ascendant sign. You already know that. But I'll put a link in there so you'll see what's all in your chart, and you can start crafting your work to reflect the energies in your chart. Yeah, you can do that. See, people not telling you that. Yeah, embodied wisdom, sweetie. Exactly. People not telling you that, but that's how our ancestors did it. That's why they was looking in the almanac to seeing, you know, how these planets were going to be in the sky before they did anything. They had to know that right energy was going to be there for them to do that work. That's why they had that almanac. That's why my grandmother, she followed that almanac to a T. I mean, to plan her stuff, plan her gardens and plants and stuff like that. Onto when she cut her hair, everything was by that almanac, and she made sure she got her farmer's almanac. She had her one, and then I got me one, and I looked at that because I had never looked at one before. I saw her buy. And then when I got deep into my hoodoo practice, I started looking at the almanac. I said, oh my gosh, it's hoodoo all through here. It's hoodoo all through that almanac. When you know how to read it, it's in there. But you won't know that if you don't know how to read it and you don't know what you're looking at. But once you've been exposed to hoodoo, you will see it. In fact, if you deep in your hoodoo practice, it's impossible not to see hoodoo everywhere. I see it everywhere now. I see everything alive. It's like opening up an extra pair of eyes, seeing beyond things. I recommend the Farmer's Almanac. Yeah, that's why you bought it. And you probably didn't know how to read it. I'm going to try to go over that in the group because I want you to know how to read it too. That's going to be important when it comes to making sure different planets are present when you do certain work. That's important because these are energy, these are spirits that you're working with. This is root work. These are the natural elements that our ancestors used to do certain work. Now you'll get in there too, and I've seen people that they only do justice work. They only do court cases. We had ancestors that only specialize in court cases. That's the only thing they did. So you might get on your hoodoo journey and find out you specialize just in court cases or love work, you know, or domination work, or justice work. You know how to get folks justice, you know, or you know how to shine light, get clarity on things. You can do work to help people get clarity on things, you know. But you will get it. You will get it. And I promise you, if you stay consistent at that altar, you will start seeing changes happen. You be like, how in the heck did I not know this? Why didn't they teach us this? We should have been taught. We've been taught the wrong thing. They gave us religion and we were supposed to be doing this. Now it makes sense. Get consistent at the altar. honey, when I got consistent at the altar, you know what came up in my mind? Uh, what's his name? Isaac and the angel. When Isaac was wrestling with that angel, he said, I'm not gonna let you go till you bless me. I'm not letting you go. That's how that work got to be on that altar. Because they know they got to show up and they know they got to help you. Because if you invoke them, they got to show up. Long as you keep invoking them on that altar and in a way where you know they have to show up, they have to show up. They will. And it'll scare you sometimes because they didn't tell us that. I opened it once and put it on my shelf. Yeah. Get it back down. Get you another one. If you over there on Patreon, you're gonna, need it. But if not, then you can, you can simply follow the planetary hours. But if you are going to be working with eclipses, because some people work with eclipses and conjunctions, they can really have an impact on your work. So that's where the almanac comes in, because it's going to tell you when different planets and when they're moving and how they're moving. That, and it is, it's amazing how correct that almanac is. I'm like, who made this? Who created this? Like, it had to be somebody who was in hoodoo or into root work or whatever, who created the almanac when you start looking at it, because it's too precise. It's so precise, it's almost scary. I'm telling you, you start doing this work, it almost scare you, because you'd be like, how come they ain't teach us this? Why was this so secret? Like, we should have had access to this information. Somebody should have taught us this. When you start seeing how it works, when you become consistent on it. And again, that's everyone, even beyond the hoodoo practice. Whatever you put in your magic, that's what you get out of it. So the more consistent you are with your rituals, and you are calling on your ancestors, these spirit guides, and spending time at these altars, you will start to see um, some results in your work. Get you another one. Because I'm going to go over it. I'm going to try to see if I can find one online somewhere. I don't know how up to date it's going to be, but kind of show you the things that you can look at to start crafting your work. See, this kind, and a lot of people don't want to do this. They want to follow somebody else's stuff. I don't recommend that. I do not, because what's for them may not be for you. And your ancestors got their own hoodoo they want to show you that belongs to you and your family. Because hoodoo is familiar too. That's why you see it look different in other families. I look at it with my mama. Had my grandma pass that stuff on to my mom. My mama just instantly started doing root work. When my grandmother had passed away, she's just got into plants and everything. She was acting like my grandma. She was knowing how to save and rescue plants. Um, she was just acting like my grandma. That's how they transfer that knowledge on to you. And you think you'd have forgot some stuff, and then when you start older, you start acting like them people. You start acting like them people. You start doing stuff that they was doing. You do it. I catch myself doing that. I catch him, and when I do, I be like, this. Why am I doing this? Even with the memories, they start showing me. When I start down this hoodoo or whatever, they'll start showing me memories in my mind. We was doing this right here, but we didn't call it that. And that's what they have always told me. The reason why we didn't know when we was looking at hoodoo in our families, because they did not call it that. This is a modern term. This is fairly a modern term. Because I never heard my mom say that. She would always say, they know that stuff, right? They know that stuff, girl. Mhm. That's the only thing they say. They never call it hoodoo. Uh, you know, witchcraft. They didn't call it that. They just said that she know that stuff. You know he know that stuff, girl. They know that stuff. They lead them people along. And you can always tell who was a hoodoo worker, and I don't know, because they're so quiet. Real hoodoo practitioners, a lot of them keep their mouth closed and they private. And a lot of them is up in them churches, especially those spiritualist churches. And you see a lot of them in those I don't know how many of them are in the Baptist and Pentecostal church anymore, but there was a lot of them in there. And there's still some spiritualist churches in the South that still practice hoodoo. And if you go there regularly, you'll be exposed to it. But it's only exposed to the members of the church. A lot of it is only and it's disguised under uh, some type of prayer service. They disguise it under prayer service, but up in there, honey, they doing full candle services up in there with the oils and everything. Yes, ma'am. They got all that going on, but you're not gonna know again because they keep it closed. You're not gonna know if you're not a member of that church and you don't regularly go, then you're not gonna know. Mhm. Anointing, yeah. They be doing all that up. They have candle services in some of those spiritual churches. Now I know we had some in the South. I don't know if you have any in your area, but it's harder to see. For me personally, I believe the Pentecostals, the Kojics, and the Baptists, I believe they have lost a lot of their ancestral practices in there. You ask me, I don't think it's a lot of them in there because the way they act, you know, it's the way a lot of them act, and some of them not even aware they practicing hoodoo, and then they want to tear you down. But a lot of them in there, they practicing hoodoo and don't even know it. I remember my grandma used to put them the Catholics doing. So when I look at Catholicism, and I was talking to somebody about that a while ago, but when I got to look at Catholicism, uh, I have to ask myself, what was they influenced by voodoo because of the archetypes they have up in there and the way our ancestors was able uh to hide their spiritual practices up on the Catholicism. I have to ask myself, was Catholicism influenced by voodoo? When I start to look at the, because they are big about the dead too. They have a Day of the Dead that's dedicated. They even got a book, prayer book, just for that. All Saints candles, lighting ceremony. Uh huh. It'll start to look like voodoo when you start looking at it. Cause you be like, okay, where did y'all get Catholicism from? Where did y'all get this system from? Because it's too much in line, just like Christianity is a lot lined up with Mayat. Then you look at Catholicism, it lines up with voodoo. Cause again, they are venerating these saints. And what do we do? What do they do in the Orisha, in the voodoo? They venerate these lords, aka uh you know, ancestors, because voodoo is spirit. Some of these spirits were ancestral. When you look at voodoo is ancestral. And then these ancestors went on to be deified and made as lords. Yep. The singing, the hymns, and the chanting. And so when you look at Catholicism, you have to ask, because voodoo is older than Catholicism. This is why I say this. I say this because voodoo is older than Catholicism, and their spiritual structure looks a lot like voodoo. It looks a lot like the Orisha when you look at that. That's why it could. That's why they were able to hide up under there very, very perfectly. and no problem. The ancestors were like, okay, oh, that's Oshun. They was able to see that. Oh, that's Elegba. St. Peter is Elegba. Yeah, they was able to see that up in there. And they was looking at those archetypes and those signs they got. Where did you get those archetypes from? If it wasn't from voodoo, where did you get that from? And you got to remember Catholicism. Those people in there, contrary to what we see now, it was filled with people that looked just like us. All those saints, most of those saints were dark skinned people. And most of the saints that's in Catholicism, they converted from some of the Egyptian temples. When they closed those temples down, you have some of the priests um, going into Catholicism. That's what happened when they set up Christianity, and you have a lot of priests. That's why you have a lot of martyrs in Catholicism too, because a lot of them practice the old ways, which was Mayat, or for a lack of a better term, some of the feminine spiritual practices. Because when you look at Mayat, that's what that is. And some of them went in there and they didn't like a lot of the things that the Catholics had to say. So you had some saints that were martyrs as well. Uh-huh. So when you look at Catholicism again, when you look at the Pope and all that, we have to remember too, there were black women that were in divine authority, and the Pope, he dresses up like a woman. Those are divine feminine women clothes that women used to be in those priestly positions. That's why I say, who do y'all get this from? Because there was a one time where women sat on the throne as divine authority. Go look at, I talked about this on Patreon. I made a video on this where if you go look at the what is that? The high priestess in the tarot card, and look at the clothes that the Pope has on, it's the same thing. It's the same thing. He wears the same attire as the high priestess wear in the tarot. And they telling you right there he not supposed to be in there. They want to be, these patriarchs, they have distorted things terribly, you know. Now he walking around with these women clothes on. Again, I do a lot of decolonizing in hoodoo, and not a lot of practitioners do that. And to me, when I see them not decolonizing and they want to keep reverberate, regurgitating some of this old stuff, I'm like, now we have new knowledge. You don't have to regurgitate that, dismantle that, take that out. We don't need that because now we know that's not true. So you got some of them too. They sound like they Christian, and we're supposed to be decolonizing this. Okay, we don't have to hide it anymore, so we can strip away some of the things uh that keeps the practice. I would say suppressed in so many ways. And the headdress, he is a cross dresser. All of them are up there are cross dressers. They are cross dressers, all of them. They have to, that's why they have that blood from Jesus, because they don't have a administration. They don't have the blood. See, they had to make up all that stuff. Let me drink your blood. They had to come up with circumcision because they don't have a menstrual cycle. They made all that stuff up. It's crazy when you start dismantling that. I don't know if I posted that book in there. But when I was reading The Secret Teachings of All Ages by Manly P. Hall, he out and says that. He said he had mixed feelings when he's a Mason. And he said he had mixed feelings about that. He was like, I don't, he said that it sounded like he was shocked. He was like, oh my gosh, they have taken this from the women and applied it to themselves. That's what he said. They have changed everything. Go read that book. I think I got a copy of it. If I do, I'll post it in there. But it is a very long read. It's about 500 or 600 pages in that book. It's a long book. And I read that book. There was another book I read about 20, 30 years ago, because I got that book right after I got the book Angels, Companions, and Magic, which I've had that book a long time. Very, very helpful book in your workings. But yeah, he talked about that. So them Masons, they know what they do. It just they took a lot of this what they're doing, and they took that from Kemet, uh all this measuring the chord, something that Seshet done. I don't know, I think I talked about that on this channel, when it comes to the divine feminine and all the distortions and some of all the stuff that they are doing. But again, it needs to be dismantled. It needs to be dismantled as well, because what I saw too, when I start studying the Kabbalah, which I posted in there, uh, even though I have mixed feelings about it, you still need to know about it. I don't want to keep it from you. Even when I was reading the Kabbalah, these men made up these what I'm trying to say, this so-called ritual to help them reach the divine feminine, which is Sophia. And Sophia is the real Christ. That's the real Christ. That's where they created that Christ from the divine feminine and turned it into a man. Okay. And when you see them do this Kabbalah, they're going through all these ciphers. They're going to Benaiah. They go, I think Malkuth is in there. What is another one? That Netshvet, you have that in there. And then the other one on the back side of the Kabbalah, which a lot of people don't talk about, and I'm probably going to pronounce this wrong. You have the tree of life, and on the back of the tree of life is the tree of death. It's called, it starts with the Q, Quapoth or something like that, but it's the tree of death. Now, on that back side, a lot of people say they relate that to the tree of the ancestors on the back, but not a lot of people go into that. But on the back of the tree of life that they call Kabbalah, the Jewish call Kabbalah, on the back of that tree, and they even call it the shadow of God. On the back of that tree, a lot of people associate that with working with the ancestors, working with the dead. Now, when you get deep into your practice, that's probably something that you want to look into. But yeah, and then again, this Kabbalah was created by Jewish men. And we got to remember, these patriarchs, they are the ones who started to overthrow some of the matriarchs. That's why when you read in that Bible and you see that, they telling you that they're trying to protect the Christians, and the Christians was being unalived in there. That is absolutely not true. They were unaliving the matriarch culture. They were stomping that out to put in Christianity. That story don't even make sense. When you hear them saying that, you be like, "How? What the hell? How you going?" Not one Christian died in there. Even this Jesus that y'all say, that man didn't say he was no Christian. Not one time. Them and if them people did not identify as Christians. See how they flipped that story to justify to unaliving those people by calling them something else. They was stumping out the Gentiles and the Christians was under threat. And you'll see that with the patriarchy, they will always make themselves victims. Patriarchy will always make themselves victim to something to justify what they do. You're gonna see that in there. So when you see them in there and you think they're, they're saying they're unaliving Christians. No, no, they're not. You're unaliving the matrix art culture uh, to put in Christianity. So stop lying like that. That's why you got them marrying them women. And people don't ask themselves that, because you see in the beginning of that Bible in Genesis, you got these men begetting all these sons and not a woman listed in there. I said, now how the hell they having these damn sons and ain't no woman here? Yep, exactly. Sweet tea. She said, like the male loneliness epidemic, ain't nobody doing nothing to them. Ain't nobody doing nothing to them. But then too, the way their genetics are set up, they are going extinct. And they innately know that. They innately know that they are going extinct. That's a topic for, that's a topic of another day. I'm not gonna get into that, but they know they're going extinct. The world as they know it is about to end for them. And then you go in and you start disrupting the natural order of things, what you think gonna happen to you. That's why you got a lot of women waking up to their divinity now. They're not, and that they created Christianity. The first people that were colonized was the women when they created Christianity. The first people that was enslaved was women and children. They practiced it first on us before they start practicing it on other folks. Okay? So they got you thinking that, a lot of women they saying they married in that Bible, some of those women were children. I'm just keeping it real with you. Some of them women was children. And some of them women wasn't their wives. When they go in and conquer them, they force themselves upon these some of these women. And that's why you'll see Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. It makes mention of these women because most of these women were high priestesses and showed these men how to do a lot of these rituals. And they wouldn't have got any recognition, no spiritual recognition, without marrying these women. Because ask yourself, if these men are so important and it's all about them, why do they strategically mention these women in the Bible? That's because they could not, the religion that they created, people wouldn't accept it if they did not include these women. Because the old world knew that everything was divine feminine. And they call themselves trying to keep, not to change too much, you know, but they still oppress women in the process. I just, dismantled that for you. And a lot of these writings that they got from the divine feminine. And once you start studying this, you'll find this out. Okay? Usually a lot of, most practitioners know this. So it's off-putting to me when I see them steady try to teach this from a Christianity perspective, and it still got misogyny in it. I tell you, when I was going through my books and reading these occult books, that's why I don't recommend women read a lot of them. Stick to what you're supposed to know, because when you start reading some of these occult books, these men can't help but mention theyself. I ain't never seen nobody that wrapped up in their damn self in my life. It's all about them. I mean, it's just man, 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 man. And all the books that were related to the divine feminine, when it comes to occult, they destroyed them and copied them and applied them to themselves. It's so hard for me not to feel some type of way about that when I say that. Always using women as alibi and a conduit for their nonsense. Exactly. And it's hard for them to come out of that too. They don't want to dismantle that because that misogyny has ruined a lot of their mind. I mean, they don't want to, dismantle that. But over here on Patreon, I decolonize all of that. And a lot of practitioners don't, too much decolonize that. But it's important that we uh, decolonize that, look at the misogyny that's in that, so we can grab a hold to the root of the power, because the root of the power of the work is the divine feminine. That's why in hoodoo, a lot of us follow the moon cycle, especially when we're working with herbs and doing certain work. That's why they was following that almanac. Okay, so a lot of that is divine feminine, hide behind masculinity. Even some of the angels that you see now, a lot of them angels have feminine natures. Yep, we are remembering who we are, sweet tea. You're exactly right. You're exactly right. But those are the things, because that's the root of it. It all comes from the divine feminine. And once you start dismantling that for yourself and finding your power in that, um, you'll go on to do great work. But studying this, you'll see that they try to hide that in the occult, even in Kabbalah. You have them going through all these ciphers just to get to divine feminine, which is Sophia. And I firmly believe that women don't have to do that because we innately are connected to the divine feminine. Men have to do that because they're not, uh again, they're not the side of their brain. It's a part they dealing with the logical part of their brain, and so like they have to intellectualize stuff. I mean, this is why all these books was wrote. You got them intellectualizing stuff instead of being able to go ahead and document their experience. And a lot of it, they know that it works, but they're using it for other things. That's why you got these Masons, the Illuminati, and all that stuff. They know that the magic work, but they're using it the magic to keep the divine feminine suppressed. A lot of them do a lot of humiliation rituals to these women up in there. So when you see all this stuff going on with women, all this human trafficking and all that stuff, all that is to keep their divine feminine energy suppressed, and it's some type of sacrificial thing to keep them in power. It's all spiritual. And they are really upset because they don't have wombs. Just the thought of women having that power like that, it upsets them. It really does. Especially when it's been set up for them to look like they are God. That, the ego thing, they would really have to tear that down. And some of them are doing their work, but we still have a lot more that has not come to that realization. But I'm here to discuss it now. That's the truth. Okay. Is there any more questions about uh any of the books, anything that you read over there, or something I said in the lecture that you don't understand that you want me to cover right now? And I'm constantly putting stuff in that group. Now here in going forward, I'm going to be posting mansions of the moon in there. That is a really hot topic as well, because when you start looking at the mansions of the moon and start looking at some of these names they talk about, and the secrets of Psalms. You start looking at them look the same. And you also look at some of these mansions of the moons, looking at the name of these spirits, they start to look like they are from an older culture, a prior culture. Now I do know that what is that? The is that Arabic? I'm trying to say this right. The Arabians or whatever. I hope I'm not pronouncing that right. But a lot of them follow a lot of this moon magic. Okay. And that's basically when you start looking at the mansions of the moon, that is the oldest form of magic that we used to practice. Yeah, Aramaic. That's right, Aramaic. So when you start looking at the mansions of the moon, you'll start looking at them and be like, this stuff look, these names look like it's from an older culture. And these are the names. My thing when I started looking at this, I was like, are these divine feminine? Because these spirits too are lined up with the moon. And they made sure that they strategically kept that out and start working with a lot of these angels that represent the sun, light. That's why you'll see L, Mickey L, things like that. When you see the L on there like that, a lot of them they start aligning them to the sun. And then you'll have when you look at the mansions of the moon, you'll see all these angels that are connected with the moon. Yeah, Arabic, or Arabic, So you'll start to see that. So a lot of things are going to start coming together for you as you look through this for yourself. And if it's something over there that you want me to cover, like I said, I'll be covering mansions of the moon here soon. And you're going to be surprised when you start looking at that. You're going to be like, oh my gosh, like, how come we don't know that? How come we know about these angels and not this angel? Why did they leave that out like that? And they're very strategic in what angels they list. And a lot of these angels started from, and I think I posted on that on this channel. But then a lot of these angels come from the original angels who were women. I can't even think of the name right now because my mind is discombobulated. It's 2 o'clock in the morning over here, y'all. But yeah, I think that I posted that on the channel here where you can go look at that. And so what they did is start dividing and breaking away the energy and start making these angels twin flames where they will have. That's where the twin flame really comes from. Um, where the angels will have a masculine and feminine side. So every time you see like the archangel Sachiel is paired up with the archangel Ariel, and he gets his power from her. Okay, that's where they're getting their power from. A lot of these angels, and when you come in contact with a lot of them are feminine in nature because they are getting that energy from the divine feminine. They will feel feminine in nature, a lot of them. Okay. Bobby Hemmett talked about that. He talked about that as well. He talked about some of these angels are very feminine in nature. I would say that's why I want you to start looking at your birth chart and looking at this stuff so you can start aligning things up. For me, I think absolutely. Because again, we're talking about the heavens here. And the more we learn about that, looking at our star sign and look and studying this, we'll start to see where we fit in the puzzle. Okay. And you would have to start looking at yourself and looking at your star sign and stuff and looking at this and putting things together, and it'll start making sense for you. Okay. But a lot of these angels, and I think, like I said, I think it's on this. Let me see, can I look it up real quick? A lot of these angels coming from. Oh, get out of there. See if I can find it on channel for y'all, because I know I did a video on this, but it's been a while. Mm, was it on this one? It should have been on this side. Is it on my other channel? I'm looking, y'all. I'm trying to see, can I find it? Maybe I didn't post it on this channel. I thought I did. I probably posted it on my other channel. Oh, let me see, y'all. Okay, so let me go over here. I had so much going on with myself. Did I not post it here, Lord? I thought I did. I can't even find the thing, y'all. I'm trying to see if I can find it, but I know I posted it somewhere. I'm trying to see. Give me a moment. I'm so sorry. Why is that not there? That is really irking me. Cause I know I posted about them. They call the archive. It just came to me. These angels were called the archive. And this is where they get the angel, the name archangel come from. Because first there were women angels, and these angels were called the archive. See how they just popped in my head like that? Oh my gosh, thank you, Spirit. But these spirits were called, these divine feminine spirits were called the archive. And then later the patriarchs came in and started manipulating the energy and making these masculine energies that works with the archive. Now, when you look at the virtues remind you, when you look at the virtues, the angels, they remind you a lot of the archive when you're looking at the virtues. They remind you a lot of the archive and the divine feminine. Really look at those virtues, the virtue angels. Let me see, because I want you to see it. But you'll be able to at least Google it. I'm trying to see if I put it on my channel, Lord. I know I talked about it. I sure did. You're at the archive and the original angels. That's the name of it on this channel. It's called Archive and the Original Angels. I knew I made a post on it about it. So if you want to go to look at that video on the channel, you can. I'll probably post it over there in Patreon if that's something that you're interested in. Yeah, I know, girl. They were the archive, and they just took that name and called it archangel. And then when you look at the name angel, it means messenger. I want to know more about that, and I'm just like, oh, I want to know about more about that. How do you change that? How in the world do you change that? What ritual did they perform to change that? See, a lot of stuff, because I'm a Sagittarius, so we love this type of stuff. We are philosophers. We love theology. We're always asking about the why of things. That's me. And I really don't need to know. I don't think I need to know if it works. But that's the part when you get into this and you just want to know things and study things and expand on things. But my thing is, I want to know, how did y'all change that? What ritual did you put in place that start making these what masculine archangels. But see, when even when you look at them and you come in contact with them, they're feminine in nature. Yeah, yeah. Some type of destiny swap or something, you know. But yeah, when you really look at that, that's where the archangels came from. They came from these divine feminine angels called the archi. And when you start looking at the virtues, when it comes to looking at the thrones, the principalities, the seraphims, when you start looking at that and you look at the virtues, you really start looking at the virtues that give you that feminine feel, especially with the attributes that surround the virtues, the virtue angel, angels of virtues. Yep. And then I questions too when I start looking at the principalities and the seraphims, they're very interesting as well. Looking at the seraphims and the angels of principalities and some of the thrones, but definitely the virtue angels give me divine feminine vibes, but you'll have to do your own study and look at these angels and look at it from yourself. And the more you work with them and you feel their energy, um, you make your own determination. I don't know how they did it. I don't know. The jury, see, that them books, they destroy so many books and so much information. And then if you do want to get these books, honey, they done made these books so expensive. You can't even buy the book. Even if the book is out there here, you ain't got no money to buy it because it's probably thousands and thousands of dollars. It's probably, you see some books, they be like $50,000. You be like, damn, what's in that book? What's in that book? It make you even want it more when they got it priced that high like that. But you'll have books like that, and then they burnt a lot of books, especially when it came to the divine feminine. But do know that a lot of this, the core of this, and what we're going back to, just to decolonize it and pull the fluff out of it, is divine feminine, and you'll see that. And I just firmly believe that women that are practicing this because our ancestors adopted a lot of the Jewish traditions is in hoodoo. And so I know these Jewish men were they was misogynistic. And so I have to go in there decolonizing and decoding a lot of that to help me with my work. I can't forget that. Now I know a lot of people, they like the focus on the African aspect, which I'm going to go into that. And just for a lack of a better term, I'm going to say indigenous because our ancestors did have some indigenous knowledge that was included in hoodoo too. That's when it comes to the mojo bags and laying tricks. hmm If the burn, the book, the knowledge is the ethers, the age of inquiries is, it's all coming back out now. Yeah, it's all coming back out now. They can't, and they don't like that. They can feel, they know that it's the end for them. The XY chromosome was never supposed to be in lead, and there was never supposed to be this men on the planet. It's absolutely too many men. And I know it sounds crazy saying that, you know, because a lot of women say, "Well, it's not enough of them." It's not supposed to be a lot of them because look what happens when it's a lot of them. Look around. Look, especially if that's not it's not natural. It is not natural. That's not natural. And so a lot of them are gonna go instinct. That's why you got women pulling back from them, and a lot of them, you know, I don't want to upset nobody, but a lot of them feed off of women's energy. Some of them are just parasitic. Are all of them like that? No, but it's a lot of them like that. And so, their genetics was bound to go extinct because the XY chromosome is not older than the XX chromosome. The XX chromosome been here since the beginning of time. The XY chromosome probably been here maybe, I'll give him maybe 300,000 years. I give him that. And it's probably not even that long, you ask me. Because, the way you act, you don't act like you been here long, you know. Did you act like you ain't never been no one, let me shut up. I'm gonna stop it right there, but you don't act like you've been there long. you not the way y'all be acting, some of them be acting. Yeah. So, way, you could tell women been here longer. Cause you see for yourself. Nature speaks for itself. There ain't no way you been here that long and you acting like that. And you want to Star Wars. And that's why it's hard for me to believe too, with a lot of them. Ain't no way you from this planet and you want to blow up stuff and you want to unalive people and you want to rape women and all this stuff. Ain't no way in the hell you originally the original cosmic being on this planet and you wanna do all that stuff. You wanna tear down trees and blow up half of the earth and cut, you want everything based on money, which is an unnatural resource. That shit ain't even real. That's something you made up to disconnect us from nature, to disconnect women from nature. Again, and you'll see that too when you look at the Gnostic writings, because the Gnostics they talk about how they were setting up this false physical reality, and they talked about the demiurge. Okay. And they talked about this new God that they were setting up came from the demiurge that was a counterfeit God. That's where you get that Yahweh or, Yodin both. I did a video on Yodabirth and I talk about who is the patriarch gods. I go into that deeply into that video I posted here on the channel. I probably need to update that video, but it's an old video. But I sit here, and then they said, and I remember my mom bringing it up to me in her Bible because my mom was always reading, and she bought me her Bible, and she said, "Penny, they got this listed as Yahweh, and it was a lion with a serpent tail. It was, it didn't look pretty, honey." And she said, "What do you think about that?" I said, "I don't even know what to make of that." But yet they say this is Yahweh, but yet when you look at this uh deity and the vibe that you got from it, it made you think, well, who the hell is this Yahweh? That's how I looked at it when I looked at it. I said, "Oh, what are we doing in this Bible? Who is we really talking to? Who is they addressing in this Bible?" Y'all wait. Yeah, Sweet Tea said y'all lying. Girl, you crazy. You ain't lied though, girl. You ain't lied. You sure ain't lied, girl. So, I looked at that, but when you go look at the Gnostic writings, look at those Gnostics, 'cause they telling you that what's setting up. And the more I look at the Gnostic writings, they look like they were the last of the matriarch culture. That's why they had to put those writings in there, because those people was dealing with the real spirit, while you got these Pharisees and Sadducees, Jesuits and Catholics. That's what I call them. Y'all ain't fooling me, because that's what you was up in there, and now you hiding up under the name Jesuits and Catholics, and by these other names. But y'all still those Pharisees and Sadducees that you was. You still the Pharisees and Sadducees. You just changed your name to the Jesuits and these Catholic priests or whatever you want to call yourself, but y'all still the Pharisees and Sadducees. Same thing. You just change your name. That's it. And so when I look at these Gnostic writings, uh, yeah, you said, what the hell? Yeah. Um, when I look at when I look at the Gnostic writings, I'm like, this sounds like this was the end of the matriarch culture, and they hid them under the name Gnostic, the knowing. And what does the divine feminine do? She knows things. That's why when you look at Sophia and you look at philosophy, Sophia's in that. And they like to, I talked about that too. They like to accredit these men to being great philosophers, but they don't tell you that Plato and Socrates and all of them learned from the Sophie women. There were wise women that taught them philosophy. See how they still shit and didn't write women right on out of it? And what it looked like to me when I started looking at that, y'all went to them women and learned everything you can. And then when y'all gained and learned everything you can, you unalived and suppress and oppress those women after stealing everything. And then said, yeah, Hypatia is one of them, huh? They unalived her. She was one of the last ones too. And they unalived that woman. Them Christian fanatics unalived her, and they said she was very, very wise. And her father is supposed to be the one who funded her education. Mm-hmm. She was, and that right there scared women. A lot of women went underground after that. You didn't see a lot of women, they was keeping their spiritual practices underground, because these and then Alexandria was supposed to be a place where all of them learned. That's where that happened, Kemet, old Egypt. That's where that happened. But they changed the name to Alexandria. They unalived that woman, because Christianity, these patriarchs were so fanatical. And this woman was very wise. She knew of the wise ways. She even changed the way people looked at astrology. This just how wise and smart she was. And some of her students went on to carry on her work. But yeah, these fanatical Christians unalived her. And then they try to, sweep that under the rug like it wasn't a big deal. These men was crazy as hell, you know. Than unalive that woman like that. So, and this went on all the time. This went on all the time. This is one uncommon for them. What you think that witch hunt thing was about? That was to get rid of the matriarchs. Why do you think they got rid of those midwives and then the doctors come in? Women were healers. They were the one delivering babies and passing out medicine. And then the men came over and said, "Oh, we're smart. We're gonna take this and we're gonna become the doctors and we're gonna put you in a suppressive uh, an oppressive role. We're gonna make you a nurse where you work for us, and we tell you what to do." But who's the real healer here? Who's the real healer here? Because the person that's coming in contact with the patient the most is the real healer, not the doctor. I had to say this as a CNA. I had to tell doctors that was like, y'all are not healers. Y'all don't do shit. You don't do anything. You just tell people what to do. It's the CNAs that's the healers. Not even you nurses, because now you nurses, y'all done got wretched. Y'all just sit on y'all butt. Because if the CNA don't tell y'all what's going on with the patient, y'all don't know what to do. So who's the real healer here? You know. And so you see, they took over that. They started taking over women medicine. And then when women did try to assert their power, honey, they accused them women of witches and take their land, because most of the women had the deeds to the land here. That's why that was so important, because a lot of them, they couldn't do what they want to do. You know why? Because women had control of the land. And so they went into marrying women, uh, you know, forcing themselves sexually up on women and impregnating them with women. That's why you see a lot of that biracial stuff that goes on with Queen Elizabeth. When you have, what's her name? Queen Charlotte. She was supposed to be the Queen of America, the Queen of Charlotte. Like she was forced to mate with these patriarchs. They knew it, and you go back and you look at these Moorish children, and you don't see the black mom, but you see these Moorish children. These women were had the deed to the land, and these white patriarchs forced themselves upon these women to tie themselves to the land to have they had to through birth to get control and marriage to get control of that land. And so some of these women were forced into marriages with these European men, and they set up what you call black nobility. These people are not royal. They're aristocrats and have black nobility. They are not royal by any means. Okay? They made that up to give them some sort of status, social status. Mhm. They took our spirit medicine, our body medicine. Uh-huh. And they want a womb so bad, girl, and then they hate the fact they need you to live. They need women energy to live. They need your energy to live. Think of it as a phone. You the phone right here. Well, this the energy bank right here. I'm gonna put like this is the energy bank right here. This is all the energy bank is. This is your womb. This is the energy bank. This is the phone. He needs to be charged up. So if he don't go in this yoni and get himself charged up, he doesn't generate his own energy. This is why women was so important to them. And you'll see that too. When they can conquer a woman, they trying to get you in the bed so they can get that power. That's the goal. The goal is to get access to your energy. And how they do that? To get you vulnerable and start draining your energy. And most of them, you'll see too, they'll start to succeed in their life when we start being with them that way. Again, he's using your life force and channel it for themselves. I heard one man talking about that on TikTok. He said, we use y'all energy. He said, we feel good when we dominate y'all and we actually we get energy from that. We're able to do things with that. So everything is spiritual. And look at it now. You got this right here. The same thing when you plug up your phone and you need to give it some juice. This the same thing with him. He can't give himself that because all of this energy comes from the divine feminine. You notice when they start, a lot of them, they be doing bad at first, and then they get with a woman and start siphoning her energy. All sorts of opportunities and stuff start opening up for him, and it be crazy as hell. You can't even figure it out sometimes. Like, what the hell? Yeah. And then some of them, a guy on TikTok was outright talking about it. He was talking about it. He's like, men know what we doing. We know that we need y'all energy. We know don't nothing shake and move without y'all energy. We have to have that. That's why we act the way we act. You trip me out. He was admitting that. But a lot of them won't admit that. They want to play mind games and shit. You know what I'm saying? Do that narcissistic stuff with you. And make you think you crazy, but they know exactly what they doing. Uh-huh. They want to get you pregnant too and continue to use the kids to do that. Yep. And then especially if you have a girl child, they have endless supply to feminine energy, warlocks. I'm telling you. Now that some of them are conscious of it, some of them are not. Are all of them like that? No. It's a lot of men that's unpacking it and they're calling it out for what it is. And it's pissing some of these men off because they're just happy being toxic. And that's who need to call them out, other men. That's all of them like that? No. But it's a lot of them, that's like that. And there are some men that's doing their work and calling them out and saying, hey, dude, that ain't right. That's messy. This is this is that. Like, dude, Some of them is calling out. They get mad, especially about that. What's that podcast that man did? Is it Grits and something? Honey, them men got mad behind that, honey, when he broke that down. And then a lot of them, you're pandering to these women. You doing this and that, you know. But I can't blame a lot of them because they did this social. They are part of this socialization experiment that makes them emotionally gay, and then you know. So now they lovers of men. But that's what happens when you start bound down to a man, when you're supposed to be bound down to a woman, and then you put this cross up with two phallics crossing each other. That's what you get. And if you look at patriarchy, it is again because you have them trying to be divine feminine. You have them trying to be divine feminine. It's a homosexual religion. And nothing against homosexual, but that's what happens when you try to be a woman. And now y'all lovers of each other. Y'all so emotionally uh you're emotionally attracted. You hate that you have to be with a woman. You rather be laying up with your homeboy because that's who emotionally you're attracted to. You're emotionally vulnerable with him. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yeah, grits and eggs. That's the name of grits and eggs. And he didn't say a lot, but the little bit he did say, it pissed them men off. You know, I'm just really done with them now. I'm not, I'm not trying to bash y'all of them, but honey, I'm just really done with them because the great mother's just gonna do something with y'all. I'm so done with you. Because the great mother, that's why your genetics the way it is. That Y is declining. So you either gonna get down or lay down. One or the other, because nature herself is gonna do something with you. We ain't gotta lift the finger. That Y gene is fading out. So sooner or later, either you gonna get down or lay down. One or the other. Because you ain't gonna be here no more. And you working hard not to be here no more because you don't want to get your damn mind right. Uh-huh. Yep. That's really what it is. Now, a lot of them are, some of them are unpacking it, and they are connected with the divine feminine, and they are amazed that this information was left out. And a lot of them, they respect the divine feminine. They're trying to reconnect back to the great mother. So you have some of them that's doing, educating people and is connecting back with the divine feminine. And I love when they see that and they share what they've learned. Uh-huh, a lot of 'em, honey, if they don't see how they sick they are. Like I said to myself, that I call them a species. They're a species onto their own. The mind workings of them, the psychology of them. Like I said, you can't be from here acting like that. Ain't no way in the hell you from this earth and you acting like that. And then you come out you come out of a womb, but you want to disrespect women. I say too, go look at that book, The Great Cosmic Mother, because when you look at that and you look at Carl Jung, Freud, and Darwin, these men have been psychologically examining women for years and strategically been keeping us oppressed and suppressed from our wombs. Go read that book, The Great Cosmic Mother. It's in Patreon. That book tripped me to hell. I was like, oh my God, they have had time. Of course they had time to study us. That's what that stuff in the Bible was about, how they were able to really take control of us. Oh my God. Yeah. Carl Jung too. Carl Jung, he when he got to breaking down the divine feminine and how they strategically took control of our wombs so they can have bodies in this world. to control. That's why they trying to hurry up and get that birth rate up. They want to get that birth rate up because without people, your world don't work. And when women take control of their portals and they know they are bringing in spirits through their portals and that y'all enslaving them here and abusing them, women ain't gonna have no more kids. Nobody wanna be ain't nobody gonna bring no children in here for you to hurt more souls in here for you to enslave with this crazy shit you got going on. Is something wrong with you? To see, long as they can keep us disconnected from our portals and mindless about that and keep us just having kids, they world work. They got somebody to control. They got consumers. This material world is created by them. And so when women, because what we're doing, the great mother is already, and I talked about this, the great mother was going to put a sort of a biological mechanism in us to make us uh, but, um, to make us, I'm trying to put this in the right words, that pushes us not to have children. Just like when we have a certain age, we want to have children. Well, it's working in reverse now. It's working in reverse. You have some women, they know when that baby getting ready to come, and they start nesting and getting things together. Women are doing the total opposite. Now we're starting to take care of ourselves and start taking a step back from men. And that's totally, see, they didn't know that because we, again, we are intuitively, we are the divine feminine. We are the natural embodiment of it. So sooner or later we was going to wake up to that because we are connected to the great mother. So now we looking beyond all these smokes and mirrors that you done put up for us. We done got out of religion and start claiming our sovereignty and healing ourselves and going back to our wombs. Ain't nobody want, and then we figured y'all out, especially when that thing with narcissism came out, when women start talking about their experience with these different men. See, we didn't have that at first. And now we see, damn, we dealing with the same man in a different damn body. There's something going on here. That's what social media did when we started finding out there was an epidemic of narcissism among the community of men. And it's some with women too, but it's most prevalent with men. That woke up something in us as well. Uh-huh. Yes, so that's something, but you should have been knowing that since we're connected to this to earth, we are the original cosmic beings. You knew that was going to happen. We are the blueprint to everything here. So you knew that was going to happen. They have written about that in their books. They have studied us, believe me. They did years and years of study. They had psychologists to come in and study us and everything because we are the cosmic being. Again, they had to get us to have, that's why they want to hurry up and get you pregnant, get you having babies. Okay? Because they world only works when you're bringing people in, when you're birthing people. Okay? Yeah, they collected a lot of intel. And a lot of men are becoming aware of this too, uh so they are breaking down a lot of the hype, and I think that's important for you to decolonize that, for you to really understand too the misogyny in things. And even in these men occult books or whatever, they still got to go back to the divine feminine. My thing is y'all dressing up like women, making up all these crazy rituals, circumcision so you can copy menstrual blood. You drinking Jesus blood and eating his body. All this right here to copy to the divine feminine. It's crazy. I'm like, these people. I said these men were so damn mad that they wasn't no woman. You know what I'm saying? When you start really, really understanding the magnitude of it, you just like, damn, they went through all this shit just to do this. you know. And that's what that's about, sweetie. You know. But like I said, you can go over there and read that book, The Great Cosmic Mother. That'll give you a lot of information. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to post the secret of all ages there, but there I think there may be some other occult books I may have where they mention it because I read so many occult books and I think they mentioned it on two or three occasions. I just can't remember what occult book it was. I just got so frustrated from when I was like, damn, if I can't find a book with them, not, I want to find a book with not them in it. And they made sure they had all these men pushing out these books and rewriting a lot of this occult knowledge. And this, now, then I started to understand why all the brick book burners. I started really start understanding why they burnt all them damn books. You know, even when you look at the story of Hypatia, when Alexandria, when people were going to Alexandria to study, they would take people books and make them take them, put them in the library in Alexandria. Every book had to be checked in. That tripped me out. I said, "Oh my God, y'all was taking people books." They were taking in people books during the time of Hypatia. If you traveled to Alexandria, they would check your baggage and stuff with for books, and those books had to go to the Library of Alexandria and be copied, or they had to stay there. Yeah. Okay. So it's getting late over here. Do you guys have any more questions? You got some questions for me or anything that you want me to hit on before I close out? I'm so glad you guys came here. If you're not on the Patreon platform, because there's a lot of stuff I didn't cover here. I couldn't say not cover, but be open, really open here because it wasn't on Patreon. I couldn't really be open here, but it just was just a meet and greet uh to connect with you and get any feedback from you about Patreon, any questions that you may have had. Oh, you're welcome, sweetie. So let me know. Get over there if there's something that you want to know. You got questions about something, or you want to know, something about some work you're interested in doing, and you want to run it by me. Fine, that's what we're there for. Assure it in the platform, and I will definitely give you some insight on it. Just message me or whatever over there, and I don't have a problem with that. Now, and I also do readings too. I'm probably going to be doing some free readings over there too soon. Okay, you guys, good night and thank you for being here. Light, love, namaste, ashe, loved ones.